public property.
Whoa, he's lighting up.
Light it up.
Oh, he's lighting up. Paul!
Yes.
Whoa! Whoa, did you see that?
Now, there must be a difference between a UFO, a high-tech, top-secret craft, and satellites and space stations. How do you tell the difference?
The way we discern what is a true UFO and what is not is that one of the things we use is Heavens Above website, which gives us a very clear idea of what's in our area. Heavens Above provides us with all the data concerning the visible satellites that we can see crossing overhead. And usually there's only 2 or 3 a night, according to that data, not 50 a night, which we see almost on a regular basis. We usually see at least 10 to 50. I've seen over 100 at times. But the other thing is we'll know exactly when the space station is flying over. They have this new project called Genesis up there, and it's on Heavens Above. The Iridium flares are on Heavens Above, and Evostat, which is another big satellite that puts out quite a light. So we're tracking this and eliminating any man-made craft. The contact for the masses is already underway. It's been underway for some time, and what they're doing is they're making themselves visible now, much more than before. Madrid just had hundreds of ships flying over, the capital of Spain. China has seen all kinds of UFO activity. Mexico, it's unprecedented with thousands of ships in the air. I've seen footage of ships over Mexico where the whole frame is full of UFOs and they're all moving synchronistically. It's just amazing. But you couldn't even count them. I was counting, 200 plus in just one frame. And that was just a small part of the flotilla. So this is happening on a regular basis, Peru, Brazil, everywhere. And it's headline news. It's total headline news there. But where is our press? Why? You've got a whole flotilla flying over capitals of countries that are being witnessed by thousands of people, but why is that not in our news? We have to ask that question. And the answer is quite simple. The news is totally controlled.
In January 2007, 2 months after the event, the media reported that a UFO was sighted over Chicago's O'Hare Airport by pilots and ground crew. It hovered, then shot up through the clouds. Officialdom, as always, dismissed it as a weather phenomenon. But how do you dismiss former Arizona State Governor Fife Symington, also a pilot, who tells the Arizona Star that the lights seen over Phoenix a decade ago were from another world?
I think if I had control of the news, I would put more spiritual content, more positive content, more information concerning fuelless energy breakthroughs, which is also taboo. You never hear about that. I would bring forward major cures for diseases which have been held back. I would bring forward people that are on the forefront of these technologies and this new wisdom coming out. And I would turn the news into a full-service organization that's dedicated to the awakening and healing of humanity and the earth, not holding humanity down in darkness and fear and terror, which is basically what it's set up to do.
So who is James Gilliland? A man on a sanctuary who's had near-death experiences, UFO visits, and contact with advanced ETs. But as others on the forefront of radical thinking have discovered, peace often follows adversity, which can lead to deep reflection on serious spiritual issues, extensive and life-changing study of many great teachings, and eventually a sense that the personality is not the yardstick by which to introduce oneself.
I have a hard time talking about myself. I'd rather be referred to as nobody, because I'm not really important. What's important is this information gets out to people and helps people awaken to the wisdom within themselves. And if you are nobody, there's nobody that needs defending when you bring out this outrageous information.
Near-death experiences are not everybody's experience.
Mm-hmm.
How do they happen to you, and how often?
The first experiences I had when I was about 5 years old, I had bronchial pneumonia. and I kept going in between worlds. And I had a woman that appeared to me, and she was dressed in blue and had electric blue eyes, just beautiful. And her energy was beautiful as well, extremely loving and nurturing. And she kept coming to me, and she would stroke my head and just be with me and talk to me. And then she gave me this substance that seemed like ice cream, but it wasn't. It wasn't cold, but it had the texture of like ice cream. And I would eat this ice cream, and then I would get better all of a sudden. And this happened 4 or 5 times. They called my parents and said, we don't think he's going to make it through the night. And this
You were in hospital?
Yes, I was in a hospital. And I was one of those strange kids that had the invisible friends that would talk to me, you know. And I would talk about life, and they would give me answers. And I was extremely sensitive as a kid. And the biggest
But again, the majority of adults would say imagination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of people would say that is imagination, but it's my own experience. And I would feel what people were feeling. I would hear what they were thinking, and then also what they were saying was always not congruent. And they would talk to me and give me detailed information of why this was happening so I could depersonalize it. After that experience, I moved into the world of social consciousness, going through, you know, elementary school and high school, and you know, making my mark in the world, trying to be accepted and approved of, you know, trying to, you know, win, you know, the love of my life through outer appearances, you know, because all that programming you get, you know, you've got to have the fancy car, the fancy house, the fancy clothes. You got to drink the right beer to get the right woman, you know, and to get the, you know, the beautiful bronze girl in the bathing suit, you know, that's playing volleyball, you know.
Were you successful?
Actually, I was very successful at acquiring all those things until I realized that they were meaningless and that I was going out about it all the wrong way. And then I had the real awakening was when I had the drowning experience, and I was out body surfing. And
Whereabouts?
it was a place called Little Corona down in Southern California, next to what they call the Wedge. Way out on a sandbar with about 6 to 8 foot waves, and just having a great time. And the next thing you know, these sneaker waves came in. A sneaker wave is where 3 waves will back up together and they come in out of nowhere, and it's usually because of a storm or some other instability out in the ocean. And these waves came in, and they were measured. They were in the newspaper. They were 17 to 25 foot waves. And we were pretty far out on a sandbar, and there was nowhere to go. There's just this big, huge wall of water coming at you. And when the first wave hit me, I was doing everything I could do to get under it. And it crashed right on top of me and dislocated my shoulder and knocked the wind out of me and just hit me like a fly. I felt like a massive fly swatter. It hit me and held me under forever. And when I finally came up after that wave hit, I couldn't get in the air because it hit me so hard my diaphragm was collapsed, and I was trying to breathe, had the wind knocked out of me. And the next wave came, pulled me under again, and held me forever. And so when I finally struggled to get up out of the second wave, the third wave came, and then I just gave up. I said, well, that's it. You know, and I remember the tunnel of light that everybody talks about. I went through the tunnel. I didn't have people there to greet me. I saw a lot of levels, and I just blasted through these levels and kept going. And I ended up in what they call the golden plane of bliss, where you're held in the arms of God, or the cradle of God. My experience there was that I was a light being. There was a greater light and a greater consciousness surrounding me. I still had a sense of self, but there's a much greater self that was surrounding me, but I was a part of that. And we had a communication going back and forth, and it was the most loving, joyous, secure, blissful energy you could imagine. There's no words that can describe this experience. I had no understanding of myself as being dead, that seemed to be a whole nother something I left behind, because I was fully awake and fully alive and fully conscious. I just didn't have the limitations of the body anymore, in that realm. And I had a conversation with this consciousness. And the first thing I asked was, how can I stay? Because the bliss and the love and the joy is just overwhelming. The voice came back to me, and it was a transmission, thought-to-thought transmission, and it said, I've never told any of my children when to come or go. That's free will. And so I had to start letting go of my old images of God that were given me, because through the Catholic Church, actually, I had to go to a Catholic church when I was in the desert, because it was the only school there. But I had to let go of that. And the second thing I asked was, how can I earn the right to stay? And the voice came back to me and says, you cannot earn what is given freely and unconditionally. And so I'm going, wait a minute, here's the program I have to release, that I have to win favor of God, or I have to do all these things to get love and acceptance and approval of God. So I had to let go of that program, because it was given freely and unconditionally. And then the third thing I asked was, how can I serve? And the voice came back to me, and it said, what do you want to do? What brings you joy? And I was waiting for this big list. You have to go down and heal Bobby and Sue and give a message to this person that their husband's okay. And I was waiting for this big long list of all these things I was going to have to do. And all the Source wanted me to do was do what brought me joy. So I thought about it, and I said, I want to come back. I want to return and teach people about the true nature of God. The last words I heard from the Source were, as you wish. And the next thing I know, I felt myself back in my body, and I felt somebody grabbing my arm and pulling me in out of the water. And I was crawling up to the beach, and I passed out. And I woke up in a big pool of water. The water was coming out of my lungs and everything, with somebody yelling my name. The near-death experiences started me on a path where, especially the drowning, I wanted to connect again with that pure love and joy and bliss, and reestablish that connection and understand it, because I didn't really have any framework to understand it. And when I returned, I was ultra sensitive again, even more sensitive than I was when I was a kid. And I was struggling, because I was experiencing the whole gamut. I was experiencing incredible beings of light and very loving, powerful beings, but I was also experiencing some lower discarnate beings and some forces that weren't so nice, you might say. And that's what led me into the teachings of the Inner Christ, which is a very powerful teaching that teaches you how to heal unseen negative influences, how to manifest, how to maintain your energies, and make sure you're receiving guidance of the highest levels. And from there, I went to the Tibetan Foundation, where I was certified as one of their best channels, mainly because of the near-death experience. I was a wide-open channel. One of the experiences I had after the near-death experience is that within the Tibetan Foundation, I left my body again. I went to a very high plane where I met this being by the name of Ezekiel, which is a merged energy of Cassia, feminine energy, and Ezekiel, the original contactee, you might say, that we know of. He talks about these metallic ships in the firmament coming down. They had bronze feet like calves. They had fire and brimstone coming out from underneath them. When they landed, they sounded like 1,000 rushing rivers. And, what is that with today's mentality or awareness? You listen to this and you go, boy, that was a ship. Out of it come cherubim, which were wheels within wheels with flashing lights all around them. They were moving all around. So obviously that was an encounter. In Santa Cruz, I had it made there, basically. I had a beautiful house right on the beach. I had a nice hot tub, and the classes were going great. And I just pretty much rode my bike everywhere. And I kept having these visions, and I would see the buildings. I would see the ranch here and what I wanted to create here over and over again in my mind. But at the same time, I was having visions of some major earth changes coming to the Santa Cruz area, and I saw some major earthquakes hitting that area. And I also saw some tsunamis in the future that were going to come in. And I gave